morning, sisters and brothers. Welcome to our News and Views, our program that we share every Friday, taking information that is contained in this coming Sunday's Catholic News and sharing our views.
And also we hope the views of our listeners.
Yes.
So we open
and halfway
the
through the program, we'll invite you to call in and share your views. I'm Lilias, Milne.
And I'm Sandee, Bengochea.
And together,
we'll be spending the next hour with you, chatting. Yes.
And don't turn off your TVs, stay tuned. And we really hope that you would share with us, because it really makes a liveliness to the program when our listeners share what
and call in and tell us what you're thinking, tell us what's happening in your parish. So many of the parishes now have, they're so vibrant, so many young people, so many people just turn up, so many things are happening, and it's good for us to hear about it.
Because you don't, unless people share. So praise the Lord. And on the front page of the Catholic News, we see a photo of 4 St. Joseph of Cluny sisters who celebrated milestones in their religious life. 2 having celebrated their golden jubilee of consecration, 50 years as sisters, and the other 2, 25 years. So that was a big celebration for St. Joseph of Cluny.
And I see Sister Dominic Savio is there as well, and I know she has also written a beautiful book on her life, if we could ever get a chance to read it.
Yes, I heard that. I haven't seen it.
Beautiful book on her life.
And of course there are 5 sisters in the picture, but on the front left is the sister who is the provincial for St. Joseph of Cluny, Sister Annette. Praise the Lord. Sister Maureen Alexander. And that was a big celebration. So we thank them for their years of commitment.
Have done so much in our society, so much. And with all the talk now on education and the church, and so the Cluny sisters have really done so much.
Pioneers.
With all the convents, St. Joseph's Convent and the others. They've done
and
a
throughout
fantastic
the Caribbean,
job.
in Trinidad, we have I think there are 3
convents,
schools, Port of Spain, St. Joseph and San Fernando. And then Grenada again.
A very vibrant community
in Grenada.
In Grenada as well. And they also have a beautiful retreat house in Tobago right now. Where a lot of things are going on.
And what used to be the Tobago primary school, St. Joseph Primary School, was turned into a retreat house when private primary schools no longer were feasible. So, we celebrate 50 years of marriage and 25 years of marriage anniversaries, and this is the same commitment, the covenant with the Lord Jesus.
Them so much for the history.
That the lives laid down in the service of the kingdom. So thank you, sisters, and thank God for them. And then the main article on the front page is Think Ecological Conversion. And this is a talk given by Father Stephen Geoffroy on, I guess it comes right down to Laudato Si and the Pope's teaching on our common home and the commitment, the actual responsibility that we have as citizens to continue that development of the
he delivered a talk on the link between liturgy and spirituality.
Very beautiful.
Spirituality and ecology.
Using all the elements of nature in our liturgy. And you don't think of that too often, but it's so very real. There's the wine, the bread, the wheat and the grape, and then water. He talks about ashes and Ash Wednesday, all different aspects of nature that are brought into the liturgy.
And there are so many ways that we unthinkably contribute to denigration of the environment, said Father Geoffroy. Attitudes towards ecological conversion, however, cannot be divorced from our sense of connection to the earth and are responsible to further generations.
We've seen things in the last week or 2 on the fact that it has been ascertained whereas it was always thought of as a possibility. But it has been ascertained that there was water on Mars, and there is water on Mars below the surface of the ice that is there.
Yeah.
So if there is water, there is life. And I often think, you know, when you look at the barren Martian landscape and you imagine what it was like when there was plentiful water, could there have been life?
Well, you know, Lilias, they say men are from Mars.
And did the Martians do that to their planet?
Yeah.
You know, and to me that's a very sobering thought, because we could end up like Mars, a barren landscape, if we don't really appreciate and reverence the earth.
And reverence the earth. And you know, I like the connection that he makes, well, linking Laudato Si to the Earth Charter, but also he talks about the integrated human development as well, because when we think about ourselves, our own bodies, and so, you know, the physical, the emotional, the spiritual, the whole part, we are part of the earth as well, and if we connect ourselves to that, so... and he also draws attention to King Austin's Calypso progress. The price of progress is high.
And asks the question, how long will it last?
Yes, how long will it last? And we only now have to look at the bottles, the sea. We can't talk enough this
heaving mass of plastic on the ocean.
That's,
you know?
3 times as bigger than France. You know, I mean, it just boggles the imagination. You go to any beach.
And we continue doing it. We continue throwing plastic bottles into the rivers. And
no, because, you know, we say, well, you know, if I just drink from this one bottle wouldn't pollute the whole planet. And we all do that.
And how many million people in the world?
Exactly. And if we just think Trinidad, population is 1.3, and let's just say a quarter of the population do it, and you know, we say, okay, so just like 400 of us or 250 of us drink a bottle every day and throw it. You know, what is happening then? And we don't think of it like that. We just say, well, you know, it's just me, it's just one.
And you know, apart from bottles in the ocean, which create horrible mess in the environment, you only have to go to a beach or down the islands or something like that after a rain, and you see what's there. It's
a couple of weekends ago I was at Mayaro, and it is really so sad. You know, the beach is just littered with garbage.
Human refuse.
Yes, with just garbage, and it's stuck in the what do you call it? The weeds that are on
sargasso.
The sargasso, and it's just a total mess. And the other day we were able to save a little baby turtle that was trying to get back into the sea. You know, you read about these things, and there was this baby turtle trying to get, and there was this massive garbage and sargassum and so there, and you know, and we were able to lift it up, and the feeling of just taking this little baby turtle and putting him over so that he would wait until the waves wash him back, you know, and you know, the general response was, you know, the chance of that turtle surviving, that's just, well, you know, everything is just going to kill it in the sea anyway. So, you know, it's a kind of...
it's what the Holy Father, Pope Francis, refers to as the throwaway mentality.
Yeah, he's going to die anyway in the sea. Some big shark is going to get him anyway. So, you know, he might as well die in the garbage here. And, you know, it's a kind of mentality.
That's a terrible thought.
That we have to really be careful that we don't become... that kind of negative doesn't take over.
But apart from the bottles and so forth, you have the more insidious threat from the plastics in small microplastics almost, you know. And the ecologists are warning us about drinking straws. We used to have paper straws and earbuds that are thrown in the garbage and go into the ocean. And that does irreparable harm. It kills marine life, you know.
And there's so much. And, you know, we think, I remember there was a time we would think that this would happen in the future.
And we are here
but the future is now. And we are actually seeing it. You know, the results of it, we are seeing it. You go to any beach, and we continue to mindlessly do it.
And so we have that responsibility to change. And you know the parable sort of the man on the beach with throwing a starfish into the water and someone asks him what he's doing, and he says, I'm throwing starfish into the water, which was washed up on the beach. And says, why are you doing that? He says, well, it gives it a chance to live. So he says, but it's only one starfish, and there are hundreds and thousands on the beach. And he said, but what difference does it make? And he said, but it makes a difference to that one.
Yeah.
So each one of us can make a difference to that starfish that we encounter in our lives.
And that's a really powerful story in all walks of life. Sometimes, you know, you think you can't change the country, you can't change, and we just throw our hands up in the air. We can't do it. It's just gone too far. But if you just think for one person, for one life,
which is how
for your life,
Mother
for you.
Teresa, Saint Teresa of Calcutta, that was her motto. You know, she always say that Lord didn't call her to be successful; He called her to be faithful.
Yeah.
And she always said, you know, the person in front of me is a person that I touch and bring life and healing to.
Yeah.
So if each of us does that to one person, or in one instance, make sure that we don't litter the place. In the recent World Cup, again, and this has been noted in previous World Cups, where you have large international gatherings, wherever the Japanese contingent sit is immaculate when they get up to leave.
Yes.
Because everywhere else is full of empty bottles and glasses and so forth. Japanese spectators or participants in a large outdoor event always walk with their own bags and put their own garbage in their bags and take it home and dispose of it. It isn't thrown there for other people to clean up, you know. And if only we could be like that.
Yeah, you go into the beach, walk with a garbage bag,
Yes.
you know, go back to trying,
And Father Joffre makes such really good points. He says the idea of progress and being all that we can be is great, but we also use so much of the earth's resources. So it is important to pay attention to the cause and effect. And citing King Austin's words, how long will it last? He said that abuse of the natural environment is a huge issue, and how people respond will determine the survival of the human race. Let me say that again. How people respond will determine the survival of the human race. So we are people, eh? It's not other species out there. It's we who are people. Animals don't pollute the earth. So
with caring.
What do we have? Maybe this is time for our first clip. And of course, we just completed that wonderful meeting of the youth in Martinique, youth from all over the Caribbean, and I believe this is a clip on it. So let's take a look at that.
In just under a month, the 9th World Meeting of Families begins in Dublin, Ireland. 37,000 pilgrims have registered for its pastoral congress, including 6,000 children aged under 18.
We're really excited. We've got a great programme planned for young people from 13 to 17 years old, and we have a variety of ways what we want to engage young people through great music, prayer, selection of workshops, through drama, through animation of great videos that have been developed through the Amoris programme. We also are blessed to have several people leading catechesis sessions.
It's good to have a teen programme because you're going to be socialising with people your age from all over the world and make new friends.
I think it's important because people my age need to have a place to express their faith, because sometimes in schools, like, it's not the case in mine, but people might slag you over it and stuff. So, you know, I think it's great to have loads of different people my age coming together for it.
And we've been listening to young people, what their needs and wants are, and from that we've developed several themes. One being family and consumerism, family in a digital world, and love and imperfection. So we're really excited to see how we explore those.
Well, the theme that I picked in particular was the digital and media, because, like, our generation now, we're all tied into like a lot of technology, and I think it would be good just to tap into that and see, like, for people, because they're always on their phones and stuff.
I think that the families and consumerism sounds really interesting, especially because of how prevalent it is in like our day-to-day lives. Like, I'll often go out with my friends like just to go shopping, and I'll end up buying stuff I don't even need. So it's quite good to have a program on it, to be honest.
My faith keeps me connected to going to Mass, because like when you go to Mass, it's the start of the week and it keeps you going until you go to Mass then the next Sunday, because you're reading the Gospel and then like the priest is talking about it, and I think it's good, it's interesting.
What we have to try and do is to give young people a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. We can do that in numerous ways. That might just spark something, and I think that the World Meeting of Families and the Teen Global Village is a way of doing that.
I think what keeps me connected is just my love for God, to be honest. I just think that it's great the way that there's always going to be someone there for you. If you get what I mean? Like, if I'm ever in a bad mood, I know that I can just say a prayer and it'll just like clear my mind, calm me down.
We want young people to be left with the gift of joy. Them also being known that they are a true treasure and a gift, and that they are unique and irreplaceable.
This is Susan Gately for Catholic News Service at the World Meeting of Families headquarters here in Clonliffe in Dublin.
Well, that's very interesting.
Yeah, well, I thought it was my mistake. I thought it was the youth from Martinique, which we have not seen any clips.
We haven't gotten any clips from that.
Yeah.
So maybe next week.
But this was the upcoming meeting
Families.
of the World Meeting of Families. Remember, it was held in Philadelphia a couple of years ago, and we had some people from here go. So this year it'll be in Dublin. In Dublin,
and listening to the young people talk, you know, it's you just seem to feel that there's a revival of the young people around now, because even my parish in St. Joseph, you see so much activity with young people.
Praise
and
God.
They're so vibrant, and you know, it's
praise the Lord.
It's really very exciting to see it. So this week's editorial talks about seek bread that will last.
Yeah, and of course it's all about the new Commissioner of Police.
From Captain to Commissioner. And it's all the talk now in Trinidad. You know, wherever you go, everyone has their opinion on that. From Captain to Commissioner, the headline rang as the potential appointment of former Army Captain Gary Griffith to the post of Commissioner of Police loomed closer. Today, after 6.5 years of having an acting police commissioner, the country could say with some finality that that era has come to an end.
Praise the Lord.
Yes, it took 6.5 years and spanned 2 successive political administrations. That it took 6.5 years is indicative that not only of a deeply flawed system, but also symbolizes a crisis of leadership so evident in all sectors of our country today.
And how hard it was on the acting commissioner to be in a job where every 6 months you don't know whether you're going to be...
Yes, because to be in an acting position, you can't really do a plan. You can't really do a strategy. You know, you can't do any
because
strategic...
you don't know somebody may be coming after you in the next couple of months.
You know, because it'd be very presumptuous of you to assume that you're going to be there. So, you know, we have to understand that it must have been difficult.
It certainly is a deeply flawed system.
It is.
And I think that's something that has to be looked at by the politicians, that has to be changed, the system itself.
And the crisis of leadership, It is in this context that Commissioner Griffith now finds himself torn between a political directorate which includes both former colleagues and former adversaries, a police service from whom he requires unwavering support but whose spokesperson indicates otherwise, and an unrelenting public yearning for relief from the nightmare of unsafe communities, random personal attacks, and the general pall of barbarism which threaten to overshadow us all. There is little surprise then that Commissioner Griffith is coming into office on a wave of popularity. He has said enough of what people want to hear and stood up at great personal sacrifice against his own in defense of country. He has spoken truth to power.
Which very few people do.
Which very few people, and you know, and that speaks to the crisis of leadership.
Yeah.
You know, because you know, leadership is a conscience, it's
Everybody
a moral.
watching the back because I can't say this to so and so because then you're gonna get.
And the history of leadership is that the leader is going to be the one crucified.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, when you look at our very leader, Christ, you know, Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King, and you look at all of them, the leader is the one who the guns are trained at. And so to be a leader you have to be strong. The gospel passage today exposes to the fickleness of the people who had just witnessed the miracle of Jesus feeding of the 5,000. They sought out Jesus not because of his teachings, but only because of their desire for more food. Jesus, however, used their desire to eat to raise their needs to an infinitely higher level, telling them to seek instead food that never perishes, offering himself as the bread of eternal life. What is the bread that Commissioner Griffith must ask those he must now lead to seek after? Is it honesty and integrity in the pursuit of their duties? Is it equality of treatment for all who run afoul of the law, regardless of race, ethnicity, or the accidents of geography, which cause us to be born in different communities? Very deep statement, you know. What is the bread that Captain Commissioner must ask of parents and guardians who religiously occupy the spaces of our church, mosques, and mandirs, but whose sons and daughters occupy spaces either on the streets, corners, or the nation's prisons? What is the bread that Commissioner Griffith must challenge the captains of industry and those who hold the reins of labor to seek after? Is it a fair day's pay for a fair day's work? Is it a refusal to participate in bribery or other illicit activity? And what is the bread we, the people, must ask Commissioner Griffith himself to seek after? Is it only this, Captain, to act justly?
It is only this.
It is only this, Captain, to act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God.
And you know, I think the time has come for people to stop being petty and to support.
Yeah.
Because this is a chance for us to overcome what is foremost in everybody's conversation and everybody's mind is crime. So if someone is appointed now and with a new energy and vision and so forth to confront this and to bring about change, then everyone has to rally behind the cause.
And you know, you did see some of the opposition members where the chief refused to
abstain.
And you know, some of them they just and they did
very
openly say
abstain because they really and they said afterwards that they did it because they had to
they
toe the
refused
party
to drop
line.
the whip. You know.
But they of themselves wanted to support
and a lot
him.
of them, because a lot of them says that he's a friend of theirs in terms of a professional colleague of theirs.
And they see it as a good choice, but they had to abstain, so at least they didn't
So I guess
vote
we
against.
have to pray for Commissioner.
And I think, you know, that is
Griffith.
indicative of the attitude of us as a nation, this abstention for no good reason. So it just says that we are fractious people. We are people who don't want to unite. And this was an opportunity for everyone to come together and to unite and to show the criminals
and support,
that we are backing him, you know. And to me it was an opportunity lost.
And you know,
to be truly
our
democratic.
society, you know, of course everyone is trying to dig up and dig up filter from and you wonder, when will it end? You know, when will it end? Because we really need, when you look at our society, you could barely walk from here to across the car park without having to look over your shoulders. And we become a society like that, and we're not a people like that.
And it's not irreversible. It's not, this is where we are going, there's no hope, we're done for. No. We can change it, and I think we are going to change it.
You know,
maybe this is the first step.
Maybe it is. And you know, I always remember a friend of ours came to Trinidad, and she was from Holland, and she came to Trinidad, and about a week later, a business associate, you know, she said, you know, I am so surprised in the Caribbean that I thought people smiled. When I thought I was coming to Trinidad, I thought I was coming to a happy nation with people smiling. And she
Which
said,
we used to be?
nobody smiles. Everybody looks at you like, you know, she said, nobody smiles. And it's so true. And if you smile at somebody, you're like, well, to she, you know.
And that's just the opposite of who we are as a
really
people
are.
and how, what we used to be like. So, of course, also hot on the news is the civil rights and people who all different groups who feel that they have to assert their rights and to let people know, hey, that we are people too. And no less is the LGBT plus community. And the Archbishop has come out and said that democracy was alive and well in the first gay pride parade that took place in Nelson Mandela Park or George V Park, whatever you refer to it as, last weekend. And what the Archbishop said is that the fact that this happened without untoward any sort of animosity and so on shows that our democracy is alive and well, because everyone should have the opportunity to demonstrate and to say how they feel about the way they are being treated. And he says we have a right to protest whenever, any group has a right to protest whenever they believe their rights are not being upheld or violated. He said the LGBT plus community has several areas where there is legitimate concern, and these have to be taken seriously by the country and by the government and by the people of Trinidad and Tobago. For example, the existing sodomy laws and societal discrimination. He said the Sexual Offences Act, which was found sections 13 and 16 to be unconstitutional, illegal, null, void, invalid, and of no effect to the extent that these laws criminalize any acts constituting consensual sexual conduct between adults. And this was the finding in April of High Court Judge Devendra Rampasad. So Archbishop Gordon reminded the public of his statement in response to the discriminating of sodomy in the country. The laws, he reiterated, were no longer consistent with who we are as a young democracy. Although the Church's position is that sodomy is a moral wrong, it does not believe persons should be punished by being jailed for 25 years. There are lots of things that are morally wrong but are not crimes and are not punished. So this is one area, I think, and everybody has the right to say.
Yes, and you know, and it's an excellent article, I think, for us as Catholics to read, because so many people say, you know, like he says here, His Grace says, he responds, anyone who says, dealing with the misconception that Catholic Church dislikes homosexuals, Archbishop Gordon refers to a foreign news report which suggests conflicting views with Vicar General Father Martin Sergiu speaking on behalf of the gay community, while the Archbishop is totally against. He responded, anyone who says that has not been following what I was saying. Every deep truth is paradoxical, and this one is no different. Every person must be loved and given dignity, and no action of any person takes away from their dignity. And we have a command from Jesus to love everyone. And there is no if or otherwise there. And that includes the members of the LGBT plus community. On the other hand, we believe in a moral law, and we have to hold what is right. What is right, and what is wrong in service of the common good. You know, and I think sometimes we need to read for ourselves. Too often we listen to rum shop talk and old talk and cocktail
and
party talk.
And what other person's interpretation of a statement is.
Yes, and so, you know, and I always advocate for that you know, read your Catholic news, read your local Catholic news, you know, listen, understand your faith, because so often we get told things and we can't defend ourselves
like
because
we
don't know.
Often people criticizing or commenting on what the Pope has taught with regards to Amoris Laetitia. And people say what he says, you know, that divorce is permitted and all this sort of thing. And you haven't read the document.
Yeah.
Because there is no way is that what he has said.
No, no.
So go read the document and see what it really says.
Yeah, and so
inform yourself.
Yes, and try to read it for yourself before you just jump on somebody else's bandwagon.
That's right.
You know, maybe this is a good time as well for us to take another clip.
Yes.
And this is a campaign launched by the Diocese of Bridgetown for Crop Over. My body, temple of the Holy Spirit. I celebrate, and they're about to celebrate Crop Over, which is
August, yes.
Yeah, which is like our carnival.
Yeah.
Well,
a mini.
A mini. Yeah.
My body, temple of the Holy Spirit, I celebrate. That's the theme of a campaign launched by the Roman Catholic Diocese of Bridgetown in time for Crop Over 2018.
We are calling on Barbadians and our guests and visitors to celebrate the body, to see the human body, to see their bodies as gifts from God.
Father Clement Paul, coordinator of the Family and Youth Commission in Barbados, wants to add some positivity to the Crop Over conversation.
So our effort is to try to get people to celebrate their bodies. Because whenever the church refers to festivals like Crop Over and others as well, whenever we focus there, we always are worried and upset and quarreling about the gyration and the nakedness, and it's almost as if we can't appreciate the human body, as if we can't celebrate the body. And so I thought this is a time for us to try and focus on the positive aspect of Crop Over and other celebrations.
Father Paul believes the campaign may even help reduce the increasing violence in Barbados.
You know, if we can get people to realize, you know, there's something beautiful about me and about the other person. And if we can get to start focusing on who we are and what this body houses, it's a temple, respect it. If we can get that done, we're well on our way to getting people to turn things around.
A poster featuring artwork by Omowale Stewart has been distributed to band leaders and others involved in Crop Over, as well as to churches and the general population. Short video messages and a prayer card have also been prepared for the campaign. Cranston Brown, CEO of the National Cultural Foundation, spoke at the launch of the campaign on July 20th.
I just want to say that I think that the launch of this campaign is very timely. The NCF is very happy to be a part of it and to endorse it. And I think, as you said, Father Paul, I think it goes beyond just the music and the dance. I think respect for the body and respect for oneself is a message that we should carry year round and in all spheres of our life.
Also lending support was Anglican priest Father Marcus Lashley, who recalled a time when band leaders would ask clerics to bless their band houses, and when calypsonians would change their lyrics if told they had crossed the line.
So I think the role of the church is to be engaged in the festival. The festival is about identity. We're celebrating who we are. And the last thing I'm going to say is that the people who are in our bands are also in our pews. They're not just people we import from somewhere and bring in. They are from within our communities, in our churches. And I think that we can't say, okay, I'll see you next Sunday, but on Monday, Kadooment Day, you belong to someone else. That's why we go to the festivals and to the events, because like PAN and so on, because we are truly present with the people wherever they are.
After Crop Over, the campaign will be taken to schools and other places.
It's a wonderful initiative.
Yeah, and maybe we could think about that for our own carnival.
Yeah, maybe we should borrow some of their scripts
yes.
and use it down here.
Actually, in Barbados, if there is lewd gyrations, dancing on the street, the persons are arrested. And so
We would have very clean streets for carnival if that was in Trinidad.
If we had done that 20 years ago, it would be different now.
Yeah, but I think, I believe I'm a person of hope, and I think bringing it to the attention of our younger people, and of our band leaders, you know, of the band leaders, and letting them.
All they see is a dollar sign. How many people enjoying this band, because but it brings me to share on page 7, to jump ahead of where we were. We can always go back.
Yeah, but we could also open up the lines at this time.
Yes, it's time for you all to participate and to join us.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you. Let's hear what you think of Barbados.
There's an article here on contraception feeds violence against women. And I think it's an important point they make here. The widespread use of contraception has led to increased violence and aggression against women. That's something we have to really take note of. The theologian of the papal household said during a mid-July visit to Sydney, Dominican priest, and I won't attempt to pronounce his name because it's Polish and it's very hard to pronounce, appointed to his position by Pope Benedict XVI in 2005, said the contraceptive mentality has distorted male sexuality, leading to violence towards women. Contraception is not for women, it's for men, he said. It makes men egoists. It makes many of them degenerates, and we're seeing the consequences of that. He said that government statistics in Italy reveal that a woman was murdered every 4 days from 2009 to 2011. He said more than 80% of the perpetrators were sexual partners of the victims, such as boyfriends, husbands, or former partners. Even more violence is carried out against women in other countries, he said, pointing to Mexico, where 6 women are murdered every day. According to reports in L'Osservatore Romano, the Vatican newspaper. In the hearts and minds of these men, there is a treating of the woman as an object to which he has a right. This deforms the male, freeing him from all responsibility. And I think what Father Clement Paul has shared there, what Barbados is trying to counteract, is an offshoot of that. That women are mere sexual objects, and they see themselves, and to me that is the saddest part of all, that women see themselves as mere sexual objects, and that is why they are displaying the voluptuous parts of their beings, and using that to entice
and there's a country, and I can't remember, can't remember where it is, where the women have started a campaign, My Life Is Not Your Porn. And it's because they've been finding cameras in the ladies' bathrooms, and so, and you know, and in various women's changing rooms, and so, and as I was coming down to work this morning, I saw it on the BBC. I heard it on the BBC. And it was very interesting, because if you think of it, you know, a lot of that is, if we think we display our bodies, it's for the enjoyment of...
I always think of a quotation by Professor von Hildebrand, which said that when women in a society are good, the society is safe. When women are degraded, the society is lost. And I think that is such a powerful statement, that if women acted with their own dignity as women and respected their bodies, then there would be a turnaround in this society.
You know, maybe now is a better time to start the campaign, because now is when the band launches are starting to happen, and the young women are purchasing their costumes, paying down on their costumes, and so maybe it's a better time now.
How skimpy can they get?
You know, maybe it's a better time now to start the campaign, and let them understand that, you know, you're beautiful even with clothes on, you know?
And putting on the costume is one thing, but what you do in the costume is something else again. So I think that's something that we need to note.
Yes. Yes, an interesting article here from Eat Leftovers from our Pope as well.
Holy Father,
our Holy Father. Eat leftovers, don't waste food, the Pope says. Pope Francis asked people to generously serve those in need and never never waste food, never throw away leftovers. I hope my family is listening. Leftovers should be eaten later or given to someone in need who will eat them, he said, advising people to talk to their relatives who lived through the aftermath of the Second World War and ask what they did with uneaten food. The Pope made his comments during his reflection on the day's gospel, that's last week, with the loaves, 5 loaves. Yeah. Young people are like this. They are courageous. We have to help them continue to be brave.
And of course, a good thing is, when you're cooking, cook enough for the meal. Don't cook enough.
Oh gosh, Lilias, that could be hard, you know. Because, you know, as a working woman, I mean, right now my nest is fairly empty. Not quite, but fairly. And, you know, you're kind of hoping that some will go for tomorrow's meal so that you wouldn't have to come home
then you plan your leftovers.
And start that all over again. And
you plan your leftovers.
But there's a little trick you do. You don't serve it the next day. You serve it like 2 days later. So you freeze, you know, and you just kind of...
And sometimes people cook so much that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is the same food coming on the table.
Yeah, my brother says that all the time. My brother, he always teases his wife. He says, oh gosh, I don't want her to cook pilau at all, because when she cooks pilau on a Monday for the whole week is pilau, you know. So you have to get creative and freeze it, you know. But the bottom line is try not to throw it out or to share it with, there's so many hungry people now, you know. At least share it.
That's what the Holy Father says, you know, find someone who needs a meal and let them have it. And go back to page 5. They talk about the communication series is the third edition in that series. And it's collaboration that nurtures solidarity, synergy, and energy. And this is a third installment of understanding the IPCP progress. Vicar for Communications, Father Robert Christo, calls us to reflect deeply on the Bible reference, so in tune with the vision of an integrated pastoral communications plan. Just as each of our bodies has separate parts and each part has a separate function, so all of us in union with Christ form one body, and as parts of it we belong to each other. And so this article is about that in communications plan, and I think they have a very interesting logo or photo or diagram here, which maybe we can put up on the screen. It's to me very interesting. It says bridge silos, help people emerge, bridge silos. And the logo shows a number of silos, which, as you know, are these cylinders, big cylinders that store grain. And a silo by itself is a very isolated thing. But here they show the platform on top of it, which, like a bridge, really, which connects each silo, so people can emerge as you see them coming up the ladder and coming up to the top, and then being able to communicate and to mix with each other. But if we live in these little isolated silos, there is no communication. You don't know what the other person is thinking, or you don't know what they stand for, or what their hopes and plans are, and unless we connect that, so that is it's building bridges, you know, and that's a very powerful image for me.
And it's so important, and so often we see people holding on to their little groups. So.
And could I ask you please to call, let us know, are you watching? Is there something you'd like to share with us?
Yeah. You know, on page 6, I was drawn to this little advert here from the seminary of St. John Vianney, because a lot of times people think they can just go and they have to be doing their degree and so, and they're offering courses of interest for laity and religious who are not doing the BA in theology but are involved in church ministry. So I guess you can just order the course, you can just go in and do it. And courses like Introduction to the Old Testament Literature, Media, and the Religious Imagination, something that I'm sure a lot of people would be very interested in, because it provides a greater understanding of the use of media such as Facebook, Twitter, Instagram as an integral part of religious communications, something, and all taught by professionals. You know, And these courses are being offered. You don't have to be doing your degree. You can just
do that course.
You can just order the course, go in and do the course, and there's no exam and so.
That is good information.
Yeah, I think so. And you could contact Father, of course, Father Arnold Francis and Mrs. Patricia Black, you know. And I really think that's excellent, so that we could. So often we just talk and we don't really have. Sound information.
I think we have time for another clip, and of course the general audience with the Holy Father, which took place on Wednesday.
Following his summer break, pilgrims were eager to meet with the Pope once again at the general audience and vice versa. The Holy Father gave out greetings, especially to the little ones. He received gifts and drank the mate offered by these pilgrims. Pope Francis continued his catechesis series on the commandments, reflecting on the first from the book of Exodus, "You shall have no other gods before me." The Pope explained the temptation of idolatry, which he said affects both believers and non-believers.
For example, us Christians can ask ourselves, who is my true God? Is it love, one in Trinity, or is it my image or my personal success? Perhaps within the Church.
The Pope said people today keep a real supermarket of idols, one of them a concrete temptation that he warned against.
I ask you all, how many of you have gone to be told the future? How many of you, for example, have gone to have your hand read to see the future instead of praying to the Lord?
The Holy Father mentioned other similar idols such as beauty, fame, or money that promise happiness but actually take one's own life.
Idols promise life, but actually take it away. The true God does not ask for a life, but gives it. The true God doesn't offer a projection of our success, but shows us to love. The true God doesn't ask of his children, but gives us his Son.
Thus, Pope Francis urged each pilgrim to recognize his or her own idol in order to be freed from it.
Carry this in your hearts. Idols take away our love. Idols make us blind to love. To truly love, one must be free from any idol. What is my idol? Rid yourself of it and throw it out of the window.
To conclude, the Pope reminded that idols keep us from appreciating the present because they only create illusions of the future, while God teaches to live daily.
What is the idol in your life?
The beautiful thing about the Holy Father is he's always so on point, huh? You know, he touches a real part of all of us. And, you know, it's not a whole lot of theological jargon, but he comes to the point and, you know, and you can always connect with what he says. So,
and you know, you say, oh, that, I don't worship idols, I don't build golden calves. But what do we worship? What do we put before God, you know? An article here, struggle against virus isn't over, say Catholics at Global AIDS meeting. And this gentleman, Michael Sandee, Executive Director of the Joint United Nations Program on HIV/AIDS, looks on as Maryknoll Father Richard Bauer, who chairs the Catholic HIV and AIDS Network, speaks at the 2018 International Conference in Amsterdam. So this is the picture that we see here in this article. And what the Richard Bauer of the Catholic AIDS Network is saying, that while progress has been made in testing, treatment, and prevention of HIV in many settings, the agency warns that new infections are on the rise in some regions, and drug-resistant forms of the virus are beginning to appear. You know, let's hear that again. New infections are on the rise in some regions, and drug-resistant forms of the virus are beginning to appear. Monsignor Vitillo, Secretary General of the International Catholic Migration Commission and the Vatican's point man on HIV and AIDS, said the world's response to AIDS was hampered by a premature declaration of victory. There is indeed complacency, he said. There's a sense that we've spent so much energy on this one disease while there are other priorities to attend to. This is what Pope Francis is describing when he talks about the throwaway culture and the globalization of indifference. I think that is a very strong and important point, because people think, oh, they have antiretroviral drugs now, and people don't die of AIDS anymore. Medication keeps them alive and healthy. Just watch it. You know, as he says, there's some strains that are resistant to drugs.
Yeah.
And there are new cases coming up every day. And we can't claim victory over AIDS. And people, and we have seen that. People have got careless and complacent.
And I like the term he used, the conspiracy of complacency, which happens in so many other areas of our lives. You know, you just become complacent. Well, you know, it's okay. And you know, we still need to be aware. Maybe we should look at the official.
Yes, time for reading that official. And time, you can call in right after we read the official. There's still time.
Let me congratulate Father Ken Reginald Vera on his ordination to the priesthood. May your priestly ministry become a gift to God, the church, and the nation.
Because that will take place
on Sunday.
This coming Sunday.
Yeah. The School of is it Sunday or Saturday? Saturday.
Saturday.
Yeah. The School of Liturgy at St. Charles RC Church, at RC Church Hall, ended yesterday, which would be Friday coming. And on Sunday, I will celebrate the opening Mass of this year's Caribbean School for Catholic Communications at the Emmaus Retreat Center in Arima. So that is happening right now. I pray for the school's success as we continue to utilize the various tools of communication to convey the gospel message. We look forward to celebrating the Laventil devotions next Sunday, which will be the following Sunday, in honor of Our Lady of Fatima. Devotions begin at 2:30 p.m. with Holy Mass from 4 p.m. Deborah de Rosier will deliver the talk, while the worship ministry will be led by the Corpus Christi Success Village community. Persons unable to attend are encouraged to pray the Rosary for healing of our land. Let us remember in our prayers those awaiting the Caribbean Advanced Proficiency Examination, CAPE, Caribbean Certificate of Examination Level Competency, and the Caribbean Secondary Education Certificate results. Charles Jason Gordon, Archbishop of Port of Spain.
So we welcome a new priest in the Archdiocese. Kenneth Vera was, many years ago, studied for the priesthood, was a prefect at St. Mary's College, and then felt it was priesthood, he didn't see it as his call anymore. He left, I think he became a lawyer, and got married, and now as a widower, in the later years of his life,
he went back.
Heard that call once more and gone back and finished his seminary training and will be ordained. And so God calls people of all ages, and we can't say, I'm too old to be called. I'm too old to change my life.
Yes, and you know, life's journey has many twists and turns and exciting ways. You know, maybe he should write a book. It should be very interesting. You know, so many different parts he has gone through as well. Yeah.
Praise the Lord. And of course, over on the back page, we have conversations with Archbishop J. And we don't have Shepherd's Corner for the month of August, so it's important to read these articles by him. And the question is asked, what has happened in the parish consultation you began? You want to?
Yeah. And he talks about the consultation involved about 1,200 parishioners from parishes all over the country. It is evident that parishioners spend considerable time and effort on the exercise and give issues deep thought and discussions. At least 33 parish priests were involved in the exercise. So, you know, it is a consensus that, and one of the things, co-responsibility. This is our church, and we have a responsibility to find the way towards the church that Christ wants us to be in Trinidad. So that's one. He wants us to be in Trinidad and Tobago for the people of the 21st century. If we all bring our gifts, we will have that. We will have all that we need to fulfill God's will. And then he talks about the process. We're moving towards a pastoral plan for the Archdiocese by November 2018. And this plan will outline what the Archdiocese will focus on for the next 5 years. It will determine where we spend our time, our talent, and our treasures. And based on the several consultations over the last...
that focus is not just snatched out of the air, but came as a result of
the deep consultation.
The consultation that went before it.
Based on several consultations over the last decade, the designers of the process selected 5 areas. So these were the 5 areas we did inquiries to: the parish, the family, clergy and vocation, and Catholic education, and leadership in the church and society. And what they did was they broke into 5 groups, and they studied these 5 areas: the parish, the family, clergy and vocations, Catholic education, leadership and church. And the parish hosted open conversations on these areas. So that's how a pastoral plan is designed. And I think it's important that as a people we know that it's not just His Grace sits down by himself and decides that this
says, hey, this is where you're going.
This is what it's
And having come from the grassroots, as it were, it then belongs to the people of the church. And the onus is on the members of the church to put it together and to make it come alive.
Interestingly, the bullet points of the key comments were on the parish. The parish needs to be more welcoming, hospitable, better communication between and among parish ministries. We need to engage our youth. The next one is the family. We need for fathers to play a great role. How much more can we say that? Lack of pastoral care for hurting families, lack of spirituality in the home. On Catholic education, and I think this was a big one, absence of Catholic ethos in the schools, non-Catholic or non-practicing teachers, parish priests not present in the school, injustice on placements of students. We are not effective in recruiting and selection of practicing Catholic teachers for our schools. Very important. So it's interesting, and again, as we said earlier in the program, if you read the Catholic news, you would know what is happening in the Catholic community, and you'll be able to have a more informed discussion when people are just saying hearsay and what they think, and so, you know, there's a lot of...
And one of the other bullet points is on clergy and vocations, and there's a poor image of clergy arising from scandals. Priests are tired and overworked, homilies need to be more inspiring, and a lack of support for vocations in a secularized society. So all these different points are very, very relevant, and you know, we can see how we can change that.
And they play our wind-up song, Lilias.
We're about to go off the air, so we thank you for having spent this time with us, we hope, and we look forward to being with you again next week. Have a beautiful, blessed, lovely weekend.
God bless.